Hey folks, it's Rob and welcome back. We're continuing our series today on the Monstrous Compendium Appendix for the Mystara setting. This is our 16th part in this series. We're on page 46, and yes, your eyes do not deceive you. There is no art for this monster. There's a reason for that, but it's a. And it probably needed the space, admittedly, for what this is. But at the same time, it's a little disappointing not having a bit of artwork for a creature, right? That said, let's get into it. So Gargantua, right? Oddly enough, only fits on one page, as opposed to some of our other entries we've already had, and some of the ones we'll have coming up. Gargantua. We have two example Gargantua, although these are just example Gargantua, I will say. There is certainly, it gets into how we can make other kinds of Gargantua, because really these are just super large versions of the regular monster. In this case, it specifies a carrion crawler and a troll. Now, these are going to be wildly different creatures than each other, so, and those are basic monsters. In fact, the carrion crawler is in the basic set. The troll is in the expert set if you're using classic Beckme. They are both described in the Monstrous Compendium, which this is meant to play off of. So, let's start with the carrion crawler. Climate/terrain is subterranean. Frequency very rare. Organization solitary. Activity cycle any. They are carnivores. They are non-intelligent giant insect creatures. Treasure B times 2. Their alignment is neutral because they don't think. They just act. Number appearing 1. Armor class 3 at the head, 7 at the body. Movement 24. Hit dice 12 plus 4. To hit AC 0, 7. Number of attacks 8 or 1. And that depends on whether it is. You get damage per attack here, 4d2 each on the tentacles. So that's 4 half coin flips, basically. Or a 4d2 bite. Special attacks is paralysis, or it will swallow you whole. No special defense, no magic resistance. Size G gargantuan at 36 feet long. That's going to take up 4 of your 10 foot by 10 foot squares on your map, by the way. It is elite morale and 9,000 XP. Meanwhile, the troll, climate terrain is any land, very rare. I should hope that these are very rare, what with these being the giant versions. They are solitary, they are night active, carnivores, low intelligence because they are trolls, 5 to 7. They get Q times 2 and D times 2 on their person. They are chaotic evil, or again, if you were just using basic, chaotic, right? 1 appears, armor class 4, just all over. Movement 24, hit dice 24 plus 24. So you roll 24 d8 and add 24 to that. To hit AC 03, it gets 3 attacks, of which it has 2 4d4 plus 16 claws. So that's, you will roll 4d4s and add 16 to each one. And a 4d6 plus 24 bite. That is rolling 4d6 and adding 24, which is the damage of a 10th level fireball on a good roll. Yeah. Special attacks throw stones. That's probably actually your least of your concerns. And again, can swallow you whole. It has regeneration as a special defense. Has no magic resistance. It is huge at 20 feet tall, which is larger than some giants. And it is champion in its morale. Good luck breaking that. And 24,000 XP well earned if you can beat it. Let's get into the text, where it's going to go into, I think, generally, and then it's going to kind of talk about them individually for a bit, and then about other varieties that we can get into. So, the Gargantua of Mystara are extremely large and powerful specimens of other monstrous species. Such creatures horrify characters chancing upon them due to both their size and their ferocity. Those listed here are but the most common forms of Gargantua on Mystara, but any type of monster, creature, or construct or humanoid could have a gargantuan form too. Gargantua strongly resemble normal specimens of a particular monster, differing only in their extreme size. For example, a gargantuan troll is green and warty with a long, skinny body and grimy claws. Just like a regular troll, it also happens to stand approximately 20 feet tall. Combat. In battle, Gargantua fight in the same manner as the normal specimens of their species. However, their great size causes them to make lots of noise while moving, so they cannot surprise anything. Gargantua that are huge or larger in size also suffer a -4 penalty to their attack rolls when battling man-sized, medium or smaller opponents. And that's in addition to any other adjustments, say like a halfling might have for being even smaller. And of course, halflings will get their adjustments for, attacking gigantic, great big creatures. Gargantuan creatures have the same number and type of attacks, armor class, and alignment as their smaller brethren. Magical abilities likewise remain unchanged except for regeneration, per the regenerate spell, which occurs at twice the normal rate. Many, but not all, Gargantua can swallow opponents whole on a bite attack roll of natural 20. Yeah. Habitat/society. The first of these creatures were the extraordinary creations of the wizard Gargantua. Such monsters have appeared across various lands of Mystara for the past 100 years or more. It is unknown whether Gargantua still lives in some hidden location, creating even larger and stranger beings. It is also unknown whether his gargantuan children can reproduce, although many of the most learned wizards and sage fear this is indeed the case. So, that's what the world needs. 20-foot tall breeding trolls, right? Gargantua are solitary, though they may come together for mating purposes. Ecology. Gargantua consume the same type of food as do their smaller counterparts, but they require vast numbers of calories to keep their immense bodies functioning. Their tremendous size also means that they rarely live anywhere but the most isolated regions, only occasionally venturing into more civilized lands. I imagine if there was like some kind of food lack, they might be forced to move on. And it'd be a shame if something bad happened to your city, right? That's exactly this kind of thing. If you ever watch King Kong, that's a Gargantua. Mighty Joe Young, right? Probably really dating myself with the Mighty Joe Young thing, but I don't care. I am old. I watched black and white movies when I was a child, and still do. Carrion crawler. Unlike the normal kind, the gargantuan carrion crawler does not feed solely on carrion. It would have to not to, right? Instead, this monstrous creature actively hunts for meals, although anything smaller than an elephant usually avoids its notice. Like a regular carrion crawler, the gargantuan version attacks to paralyze opponents, then tries to eat them. Unlike smaller versions, the gargantuan carrion crawler can swallow man-sized or smaller opponents whole. Gargantuan carrion crawlers have been spotted only in the largest underground caverns in the wilds of Mystara. Keep in mind that these are subterranean and not found just out and about. But the troll, the gargantuan troll remains one of the most terrifying creatures on Mystara. It is not known whether more than one of these horrifying monsters exists. Sages fervently hope that the wizard Gargantua had wisdom enough to create only one such being, as a race of gargantuan trolls might prove powerful enough to destroy all of the world's civilizations. They can only be in two places at once, right? But, if there was a whole race of them, yeah. Might be a little hard to deal with. Like normal trolls, gargantuan trolls can attack multiple opponents at the same time, And while they never use melee weapons, they occasionally throw large stones at opponents with a range of 80 yards, causing damage of 48 points on a hit. Again, as I said, that's actually the light attack. No one has ever severed a limb of a giant troll and lived to tell whether the limb continued to fight after being separated from the creature's body. If such an unlikely event were to occur, sages believe the limb would fight on. Gargantuan trolls regenerate hit points at a rate of 6 hit points per round. They have all the vulnerabilities of normal trolls. They are also the smartest Gargantua known on Mystara. So there's probably not a Gargantuan, say, snow ape, right? But nothing saying it can't be. You are the DM, and we're about to get into other varieties, right? Other forms of Gargantua are possible, though none with an intelligence higher than 7 has ever been seen. The DM can develop Gargantuan creatures with the following guidelines. So, climate, terrain, activity cycle, diet, intelligence, and alignment, armor class, number of attacks, and magic resistance. These are the same as the normal versions of the creature. Frequency, very rare. They are solitary. Treasure, twice the normal amount. The number appearing will be 1. Moving, twice the normal rate. Hit dice 4 times normal, including 4 times as many any additional hit points. For example, 44 hit dice becomes 16 plus 16. To hit AC 0 is per the hit dice of the Gargantua. So that's why, for example, the troll has a to hit AC 0 of 3 and not like a regular troll, because it is a 24 hit die creature. Damage / attack 4 times normal. Special attack per normal, though the DM can choose to increase ranges and area of effect up to a factor of 4. Damage for special attacks also should increase to 4 times normal, if appropriate. Many Gargantua, if they roll a 20 for biting attack, can swallow opponents whole. Special defenses per normal-sized creatures, except regeneration rate, if any, doubles. Size 4 times normal. Morale, elite or better. XP value per hit dice and abilities of the Gargantua. So, yeah. And that's why it's 24,000 XP for a Gargantua troll, because it's 24 hit dice. Yeah, that's it's an interesting tool, and it's not something I would expect your party to probably... I mean, you're going to have one shebang of a party to be able to take that on, right? But maybe a Gargantuan goblin is more in their power, but even then, that's a lot of goblin. And weird. Let's move on to the next page, page 47, where we're back to actually having some art, although it is, again, unfortunately quite washed out, where blues and purple hues seem to just kind of disappear from this scan. It's an odd-looking creature, though, the Geonid, right? He's got arms. He's got an arm. He apparently may have more than one arm, because the one up in the background that's on top of that rock there with another guy on top of it has 2 arms and apparently 2 legs. But the one in the foreground has 1 arm and 2 legs and holding seems to be a heart. Yeah. And then the guy in the background has another smaller one on top of him. So, you know, not Matryoshka, but just stackable. So, let's read on about the Geonid. Climate / terrain, any subterranean. Frequency, rare. Organization, clan. Activity cycle, night. Diet, omnivore. Intelligence, average, 8 to 10. Their treasure type is K, although the C is also present, the layer. Alignment, chaotic neutral. Appearing 2d6. Armor class, -2, so quite well defended. Movement 6, they're quite slow. Hit dice 2. To hit AC 0, 19, so, you know, they're not very fearsome in their offense, but there are, 2 to 6 of them. So, 2 to 12. They each get an attack with 1d8 claw or by weapon. So these are intelligent and certain, they're moderate intelligence. So they apparently are tool users, right? Special attacks are by surprise. Well, looks like I can imagine what kind of surprise these guys might get up to. No special defense, no magic resistance. They are small, 3 to 4 feet tall. They are steady morale at 11. XP value 65, but 175 for a priest. So they have like a shaman, I guess. Geonids, and not Geonids, but Geonids, because there's no E on the end there. Small, intelligent cave dwellers live and hunt in clans within tunnel complexes or natural cave systems. The bipedal Geonids have 2 arms ending in sharp, 3-part claws, dexterous enough to wield tools and weapons. A Geonid protects its tender flesh with a mottled gray outer shell, which gives the creature an unusual appearance. The Geonid's arms and legs protrude from small openings in the bottom of the shell and can be withdrawn for either protection or camouflage. With its limbs retracted, a Geonid cannot easily be distinguished from a small boulder. Geonids speak to each other using a series of clicks and shell gestures incomprehensible to outsiders. A few specimens, perhaps 10%, have learned basic common. You got to wonder where they picked it up, right? Combat. Geonids rarely seek out combat, fighting only to defend their lairs or attack prey. Geonids are particularly fond of horseflesh. When attacking, they prefer to gain an advantage through surprise. Due to the Geonids' resemblance to boulders when hiding, opponents suffer a -4 penalty to their surprise roll when encountering them. In battle, Geonids attack with either one of their powerful front limbs or with a stone weapon, usually an axe or a club. They attempt to swarm larger opponents with at least 3 creatures attacking a single foe. They are tenacious opponents, but a Geonid near death usually retreats into its shell, scuttling away from combat rather than risking its life. The creatures always attack in groups and are almost never encountered alone. A single Geonid prefers to hide or flee rather than face an opponent of any sort. Habitat/society. These social creatures live in clans of 1d6 times 10 plus 20 individuals. The few outsiders who have stumbled upon a Geonid lair often are surprised by their numbers, since most adventurers encounter them in hunting parties of only 2d6 individuals. A clan usually follows a Geonid priest who, though lacking spells, remains an exceptionally powerful specimen. A priest has 4 hit dice and causes 2d6 points of damage with its claws, or +2 to damage with any weapon. A Geonid lair always contains a strange shrine built of chipped boulders and oddly shaped stones dedicated to their immortals. Offerings of precious metals, gems, and coins collected by the clan lie amongst the boulders of the shrine. The rest of the lair consists of small piles of stones covering the hollows in which the Geonids make their rocky nests. Geonids are monogamous and form small family groups. Young Geonids, born without their shell, ride their mother's shell for the first few months of life. For several months thereafter, the child stays near its mother, clinging to the safe parental shell and hiding beneath it when threatened. The creatures feel extremely suspicious of all outsiders, particularly humanoids. They normally guard their lairs simply by hiding their existence and blending into their surroundings. However, if they sense danger of discovery, dogs and other animals can scent Geonids, a hunting party tries to lead the invaders away from the lair. Geonids particularly like to lead outsiders into areas where they can trigger a rock slide or other distraction. When possible, they lead intruders into an area inhabited by piercers. Once the piercers have attacked, the Geonids finish off any remaining outsiders. They sometimes use a variation of this tactic in hunting. The stony creatures attack both the fallen piercers and the piercers' prey. Geonids may be related to Galabidur, but the 2 races seldom live in close proximity. And I was just thinking, if you wanted to combine a couple things here, that carrion crawler we were just talking about would be a fine thing for the Geonid to lead you to, right? and possibly even to be like, oh, the avatar of our immortal is the carrion crawler. Whoop-da. uh, ecology. Geonids are predators and occasional scavengers that can digest almost any form of animal or plant. However, their preferred diet combines fresh meat ranging from rats to horses and mosses, which the Geonids cultivate and harvest. Hunting parties bring in meat, but hunt outside only at night. The shells of adolescent Geonids, while retaining their flexibility, remain just as protective as adult shells. Dwarves and orcs can fashion them into particularly strong and durable helms, which grant twice the protection of normal helms. On occasion, clans of mountain dwarves have been able to convince Geonids to search out veins of ore in exchange for both horse meat and uniquely shaped boulders, which the creatures find quite valuable. Possibly this is a boulder it's holding. I'm pretty sure that's a heart. Yeah. But, you know, what can I say? Fun little interesting creature, right? Um, up to you how you might want to bring it in. The actual picture to hand is definitely the the shell of the Geonid is more bluish, while the rocket is standing in front of is a bit more purplish, and it's just lost. It's washed out. It suffers a lot in this scan, and I'm sorry about that. Let's move on to page 48, our next monster. Well, it's a little weird. The Ghostly Horde. And that gets an illustration just showing a group of, well, guys, soldiers, something. One of them has an arrow sticking out of him. Otherwise, you wouldn't really notice. Well, like the guy in the foreground's missing a forearm. And the guy next to him behind the shield has got a slashed tunic. But it's harder to say it. These guys aren't, like, alive, except for the fact that we have to forgive the artistic impression here, and this is actually just that they don't have feet. They're kind of wispy down here, right? Because they're ghostly. So, yeah, Ghostly Horde. Climate, terrain, any battle site. Frequency, very rare. They are organized in a troop. Activity cycles, any. Diet, they don't have a diet, they're ghosts. Intelligence, not rateable. Treasure, none, nil. Although it is a battlefield, maybe you'll have some things on the battlefield, but it's probably all rusted and picked over and trashed, right? Alignment, not applicable. Number appearing, special. Armor class 4. Movement 12. Hit dice 3. To hit AC 017, they get 1 attack, which is a D8 sword. Special attacks are fear. No special defense or magic resistance. They are medium in size, 6 foot tall. I'm guessing each individual ghost in there. They are completely fearless, morale 20, and XP value 120. A ghostly horde consists of the psychological remnants of an army that met a sudden or catastrophic defeat. The horde is created by the loser's overwhelming desire to complete their task, whatever that may have been. For those who fear allows them to see it, the ghostly horde takes the form of the soldiers who lost the battle. No matter how long ago or how frequently the battle took place, the soldiers appear exactly as they did on the day of their violent deaths. They make no sound whatsoever. Although such armies normally appear as they did in life, occasionally reports surface regarding ghostly hordes whose soldiers bear the seemingly still fresh wounds that caused their death. Combat. Since the members of a ghostly horde have no true consciousness or intelligence, it is the minds of their victims that give the horde the substance and power. It's each character who enters the battlefield where a ghostly horde exists, sees the spectral army appear at the edge of the battlefield, and must roll a saving throw versus wands. If the saving throw succeeds, the horde fades away before mounting its attack. If the saving throw fails, character sees the horde prepare to charge and must roll a second saving throw. A second failed saving throw indicates that the character has succumbed to fear and the horde attacks. Although the horde may number hundreds or thousands to the one who failed the saving throws, only one ghostly soldier actually attacks this panicked character. A victim struck by the soldier suffers 1d8 points of damage from the weapon and must roll a saving throw versus death. Success means the character sustains normal damage. Failure means the character falls unconscious, slain by the ghostly soldier. A slain character revives in 1d4 turns to find that only half the damage the soldier inflicted is real. The remaining damage does not appear in the form of cuts, as a real sword would inflict, but rather as a series of raised welts on the character's body. Deep bruising. A character attacks a ghostly warrior as if it was a real opponent, causing normal damage. Note that each member of the ghostly horde has equivalent of 3 hit dice. A character who slays a ghostly soldier in battle will not see the horde again on that battlefield and cannot be affected by them in any way. Habitat/society. The ghostly horde can exist only on deserted battlefields or in the city or town in which the army met its defeat, usually by magic. The horde has either infantry or cavalry soldiers, exactly as they looked like when the living army first entered the field of battle. Some theorize that ghostly hordes can form only when the soldiers of the losing army felt particularly dedicated to the cause for which they gave their lives. Their spirits yet struggle to complete their task and vanquish their long-departed foe. Sages suggest that the apparitions within a ghostly horde can go to their rest only if the cause for which they once fought finally succeeds. It is interesting to note that every person who enters a ghostly horde's field of battle may well see something different. Some see nothing, feeling nothing more than general unease, while their closest companion may see himself in a mortal combat with a member of the ghostly company. The wild, slashing sword welts and sudden stumbling feint as the character who is slain often seems extremely confusing to companions who have not seen the horde for themselves. Ecology. The battlefields, deserted towns, and empty cities that house the spirits of a ghostly horde often remain surprisingly devoid of insects and small animal life. This phenomenon is particularly noticeable at dawn and dusk in the summer months. Across the entire battlefield, not a single cricket calls out to another. Scholars and adventurers, often interested in discovering the secrets of lost civilizations, sometimes search out the battlefields housing ghostly hordes. Often, a period of diligent digging and searching reveals ancient armor, weapons, treasure maps, and other items of interest. After searching 1d4 days, characters have a 50% chance of success. The value of such items varies widely with the particular horde and the interests of the searchers. I would say, obviously, you've decided to introduce this thing. And this should not be on a random table, unless you're like doing some kind of hex crawl, because honestly, this should be a planned encounter, right? And therefore, you should plan a treasure to be findable if you were going to have one, and maybe that's a great place to have a hook for something like a map, right? Some kind of art thing that needs to be brought back to somewhere else, right? Obviously, they have an unresolved problem because they are a ghostly horde that's still seeking its victory, right? And those are various things that you can use as a DM to set up a plot point and motivate your players in a direction, or at least give them an option, right? And with that, we're going to finish page 48 and our reading for the day. Thank you very much for watching, and, well, primarily listening, honestly, as I read this book. I appreciate you being here and your comments, and, feel free to drop a like, or if you like my content, maybe a subscription. I promise. I'm going to probably stick with the RPG content as my majority of my output. but I might occasionally drop something else out like I do as a bonus video. Regardless, you all have a great day. Goodbye.